News 360 coming to you live from the News Hub here at Adesawe Kanda. I am Portia Gabor.
And I am Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Let's bring you the headlines for the next 1 hour.
News 360 headlines is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint,
Pepsodent Charcoal and Pepsodent Herbal,
EcoBank.
Coming up this night, government rejects claims former Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu was subjected to an unfair removal process. We'll hear from the Office of the Attorney General.
And also coming up tonight, ECOWAS Court announces it will shortly rule on a case filed by the former Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu challenging her removal process.
And later in the bulletin, disturbing reports of sexual assault against persons displaced as a result of Binyiri conflict.
In business news, Ghana's inflation hits near 4-year low at 11.5%, heightening calls for further policy rate cuts.
And on the international front, Vladimir Putin says Russia will achieve all aims militarily if Ukraine does not agree to deal. We have details of all these stories and more. We always love to hear from you, so do let your comments come in.
In our first story, government is rejecting claims that former Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu was subjected to an unfair removal process. The retired Chief Justice, Sophia Ekufu, on Tuesday described the entire removal process as unnecessary. Deputy Attorney General Justice Remsai has been responding to this.
Why should it be that the president can't at will give money to people, even parliament cannot at will give money to people, spouses or family members of the president, and then in another case, we would say that it is, we should. And the question of, I said it's a question of standards, Maybe it is, we have to make a choice as a country whether we want our leaders to be excused from some of these things so that they can do it, and then we just ask them to return the money. Recently, where I sit, I prosecute people, okay? So many people in this country, when they commit a certain crime, we jail them 5 years, 10 years, and all. So if the position is that we should excuse leaders or those who are at the top of the, let me call it the political food chain, to do certain things without holding them to account, we can adopt that as a country. And if the other school of thought is that for persons who are at that level, they should even be held to a higher standard, in the sense that they know, they know and ought to know that this should not be done, right? So if they allow that to be done, we have to decide that we will leave them to go or not. But I believe that the standards have been considered by a panel of 2 Supreme Court judges and 3 other persons, with the former, auditor, general. I would defer to their, conclusion as against their appreciation of the standard as against the former Chief Justice.
In a related development, the Community Court of Justice of ECOWAS is set to deliver a ruling on the case brought before it by the immediate past Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu, seeking a suspension of the proceedings to remove her from office and her reinstatement with full entitlement. The former Chief Justice was subsequently dismissed by the President after recommendations from a committee of inquiry which investigated petitions asking for her removal. Lord Eduasare reports.
During the hearing, the Attorney General representing the state challenged the suits brought by Justice Tokonu, citing lack of jurisdiction by the ECOWAS court. The Attorney General averred that The ECOWAS court proceeding to hear the case by the Chief Justice would result in forum shopping, which could in turn lead to conflicting decisions since the matter was already before Ghanaian courts, including the Supreme Court. But lawyers of the Chief Justice maintain that the case constituted clear human rights violations and not constitutional interpretations. They further prayed for $10 million in compensation for damage to her reputation following her suspension by President Mahama. The ECOWAS court then adjourned the case to deliver the ruling on the matter. Meanwhile, lawyers of Justice Gertrude Tokonu have filed another application at the ECOWAS court, urging the Community of Justice Court for an order granting the reliefs contained in her originating application. She is also praying the court to deliver its judgment in her favor, noting that the Attorney General has defaulted in filing a defense to her suit. Per the rules of court, a party to a case is required to file a response within 30 days. Failure to do so means forfeiture of the right to file a defense. Lord Idwasari, TV3 News, Accra.
Meanwhile, Deputy Attorney General Justice Sahel has been explaining why Ghana is yet to file a response to the CJ's case at the ECOWAS courts.
Dawn, we woke up to another process which was served on us from the court, that the former Chief Justice is seeking judgment in default of defense. In other words, that we've not defended the substantive suit. We had 30 days to do so, and that we have not filed our defense. But our preliminary thought is that if we are objecting to the jurisdiction of the court, and the court has taken argument and has adjourned to give a ruling one way or the other, we do not exactly think that we have to file on the substantive issue, because the question before the court is whether the court has jurisdiction. The court has to clear that aspect first, and when it says that it has jurisdiction to assume, then they will order us to file our defense. And indeed, if the court was interested in getting the court could have ordered that we should file our defense together with our preliminary objection, because we were heard. It's not as if we argued that matter in court, in the ECOWAS court, and we were heard. And the court in adjourning didn't give any further direction. They told us that they are rising, and then they have adjourned the case, indefinitely. And when they come back, they will give us further directions. So we were waiting for the court to give us further direction, only to be served with a notice for default of defense. So that is where we are at the moment.
So what are the next steps? You'll be applying for that to be thrown out as well?
Yeah, we would have to file to oppose the application for default judgment.
Now, the former Chief Justice Sufai Kufu is calling for a complete overhaul of the removal process for Superior Court judges. She believes that the current process is unfit for purpose, creating a situation where future Chief Justices will easily be removed from office.
The former Chief Justice's reaction to the removal of Chief Justice Gertrude Saki-Tokuno, Sufai Kufu maintains the entire removal process was unnecessary.
I'm very sad about it. It has really saddened me. And maybe in a way, I feel very distressed by it.
She fears other Chief Justices will be subjected to similar removal process unless key changes are made to the current procedure.
It's about the whole process. My sadness is because as far as I'm concerned, it was a very unnecessary. We have been taken through a very unnecessary situation, and which, as far as I'm concerned, and that is my honest and candid view, this has so weakened the institution of the judiciary. It's not so much the individual who occupies their position. It is the institution. That is what I'm concerned about.
Sufai Kufu has a message for the former Chief Justice Gertrude Saki-Tokuno.
The removal of persons from their positions, however high, however low, ought to be crafted with more precision and have greater detail. Because if in your constitution you're going to go to the extent of setting out grounds, setting out procedure, and saying that this is the only procedure that is to be used, then it needs to be more solidly grounded. It needs to say more.
In more news tonight, the opposition NPP has petitioned the Inspector General of Police demanding the arrest and prosecution of NDC Vice Chairman Asiedu-Dartey and another party member for various acts that occurred during the Akwatia by-election. Mr. Dartey, the party alleges, threatened there will be a by-election in the constituency of Minority Leader Alexander Apenyo-Markin. They also allege he physically assaulted NPP Vice Chairman Alhaji Osman Masawudu. They want him arrested and prosecuted.
It was a big talking point yesterday. What happened in Akwatia? Now, political scientist Dr. Ali Nyaba says the outcome of the recent Akwatia by-election has set a precedent that could influence the results of upcoming by-elections, potentially shifting in favor of the NDC. He cautions political parties against complacency, urging them to take decisive action or risk setbacks that may be difficult to recover from.
The fiercely contested Akwatia by-election held on Tuesday, September 2nd, saw NDC candidate Bernard Baidu emerge victorious, defeating NPP Solomon Asumedu. Political scientist Dr. Ali Nyaba says the NPP's loss, though painful, was expected due to the party's lack of reorganization after the 2024 general elections.
It made the dynamics quite predictable before the elections that it was always going to be very difficult for the NPP to retain the seat, especially if you look at the margin that the NPP candidates won with in the 2024 elections. The NPP too, I think it is a difficult moment for them to start serious reorganization until after the selection of the flag bearer into the next elections. Because of that, the internal politics is not allowing them to focus as a unit.
He cautions political parties against complacency, urging them to reflect, restructure and reconnect with voters.
The NDC, since the 2024 general elections, have shown that they are making maybe unintentional inroads into NPP strongholds in the Ashanti and then the Eastern region. The complacency that made the NDC to make these inroads should not set into the NDC itself. Political parties must be wary of complacency, and complacency in terms of doing the right things for the people who voted you into power. You should never take those people for granted. Whatever you are supposed to do as a representative of the people, you must take that very seriously, stick to it, and remember that just one moment of complacency can drag you back several miles, and it takes another several miles for you to make up for what you might have lost.
He adds that over the past 6 to 8 months, many Ghanaians appear generally satisfied with the current government's performance.
And Deputy General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, NDC, Mustapha Bande, has criticized the Minority Leader, Alexander Apenyo-Markin, for allegedly destroying posters at the NDC's office in Akwatia. He says the call by the New Patriotic Party to arrest the NDC's first Vice Chairman is flawed. In an interview with Christian Yale, he described the outcome of the Akwatia by-election an honor to the late Dr. Omani Boama.
It was a very peaceful election, one that we must commend ourselves of, particularly the fact that we had no disturbing incidents of violence and all sort of view. We wanted to work as a team to win this election in honor of our brother Dr. Edward Kofi Omani Boama. and 8 others, but him in particular, because his desire have been that we win the seat as part of his round 2 of activating the body cams. But to the people of Akwatia, it means jobs for them. It means hopes for them. It means that they are going to be expecting that we'll give them jobs and then we're able to do what the MPP couldn't do for them. Yesterday's election would have been with no single incident, but for Apenyamakans, he must grow up and demonstrate leadership. Because when you are fortunate to have gotten to where he is, you can't come down the ladder. To even master the courage to enter into a political party's office to tear posters, Chief, it's dangerous enough.
In the face of the alleged threats against Afenyomakin and other MPP leaders, they have issued a statement, the party has issued a statement today demanding that your first vice chairman, Sofa Zoka, be arrested. Is that a call in the right direction?
That will be left for the police to decide. Yes, a call can be made, but they should be prepared for the law to work harmoniously with individuals that are involved, so that we are not seen to be punishing one side and leaving the other. No, it's not going to happen. If they are calling for this, they should be ready to attend the Apenyamakins in. And then we can proceed from there. Violent behaviors, condemnable violent behaviors.
Are you able to cite examples of some of
I just told you, how can you slap a police officer and still be walking? If I slapped a police officer, do you know what will happen to me?
Now, there are calls for politicians to be held accountable for comments and promises they make. This is in reaction to comments by the New Job in South Member of Parliament, Michael Ochribefi, who has beat a retreat on his earlier pledge to resign if the New Patriotic Party loses the Akwatia seat. Evelyn Tengma has more in the following report.
In the heat of campaign in Akwatia for the September 2 by-election, MP for New Job and South, Michael Ochribefi, made a statement which is now haunting him.
Confidently, I'm telling you, mark my words. I can even tell you that if we lose this election, I'll resign as a member of parliament. I'm telling you, we'll win this election.
Many may not have paid much attention to his comment, but right after the MPP's defeat in the by-election on Tuesday, his comment sparked heated debate about accountability and trust in public life. Michael Ochribefi has since apologized for his statement, adding he went too far. But Ghanaians will not take any of that. On social media and on the streets, they want him to resign, questioning the sincerity of politicians. Some also argued that the Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, while in opposition, made comments that he will resign if the president of a future NDC government that he is part of uses a private jet. He has since slammed his critics who asked him to resign because the president was alleged to have used a chartered flight to Japan. NDC's Deputy National Director of Elections and IT, Rashid Tanko Computer, said Befi's apology is insufficient.
If he doesn't, I will write to the Speaker of Parliament. And he must apologize in the floor of Parliament so that the whole public will see who he is, so that they know that certain activities of people like that should not be countenanced by Ghanaians. They must allow decency in our politicking so that Ghanaians will respect us.
Governance expert Professor David Abdullahi said Ochribefi should not have made those comments in the first place and insists he resigns, raising credibility and integrity issues.
It speaks to his integrity and credibility. He should resign. And the other thing is, it also speaks to his values. What does he really stand for? If you are a leader and you speak in such a way, then people should be able to take you based upon your word. So what he has done, actually, he has brought a lot of shame to his constituents. I think it's high time that the Parliament actually come up with standing orders against these kind of things, because it puts the whole Parliament into disrepute.
He said going forward, politicians should be held responsible for their comments.
People should vote those politicians who promise and don't deliver. They should vote them out. And I can tell you, Ghanaians are getting to that stage now. They'll vote you out at the polls. Then they should name and shame those kind of people.
Many politicians continue to make such comments and unfulfilled promises and get away with it, and the Befi situation has raised questions again. So as the clock ticks, would Befi reconsider resigning or rather apologizes on the floor of Parliament? One can only wait and see how it unfolds. Evelyn Tinkma, TV3 News, Accra.
Let's now go to the Savannah region, where displaced women and children who fled the Bole-Sola conflict to La Côte d'Ivoire are facing harrowing conditions of reported cases of sexual abuse, hunger, and lack of basic necessities. Victims say they were forced to sleep with men from host communities in exchange for safety, while children are showing visible signs of trauma as food and clean water run dangerously low.
The IGP Special Operations Team deployed to Bole to enforce peace, law and order in surrounding communities, accompanied some chiefs on a fact-finding mission to the feuding communities as part of ongoing mediation processes. A contingent of 40 officers led by ASP Alhaji Bawa Abdul Jalil advanced their activities to La Côte d'Ivoire to engage with displaced Ghanaians who had fled their indigenous communities due to the lingering conflict situation there. The personnel received briefing before their departure to the field.
When the situation is becoming calm, you as police officers, it is incumbent on you to also play the role of mediation in order for us to have peace, safety and security within the area in which you are operating.
What we are in now, we are not supposed to be biased. So I expect you to be very professional in your dealing.
In Bale, a Brifo-dominated settlement, most homes had been abandoned. At the Chache border, the IGP Special Operation Team, assisted by customs and immigration officials, facilitated their entry into Bonkro, the host community in Ivory Coast, after an Ivorian security chief, Gachet Toussaint, granted them access. The team engaged the traditional rulers, community members and refugees in a town hall meeting fashion.
Having the information that they have moved to this area, the IGP has tasked us to come to this area to see how our people are faring and also to see how best we can also communicate with the chief and also thank them for keeping our people who are currently under their custody.
Chief of Bonkro, Zinayao, pledged continued protection for the refugees, but appealed for peace in Ghana to allow the refugees to return to their abodes. Ivorian Security Chief Gachet Toussaint emphasized the urgency, urging Ghanaian authorities to intensify peace mediation efforts before the crisis worsens. The team then proceeded to address the refugees.
Good afternoon to you all. It is not easy going through all the areas that you have abandoned your homes and this is where you are living. It's a clear indication that it's an unfortunate incident. But we are assuring you as police officers from Ghana, especially from the National Headquarters Special Operation Unit, that for the past 3-4 days, our presence within your area has indicated that peace is coming back. Everything is coming back to normalcy, and we are assuring you that with our effort and the effort of our Inspector General of Police and the National Security, together with the government, everything is going to be normal so that you can come back and live your normal life.
Some of the refugees say they still live in fear.
The people that they are killing, whenever they will mention the person's name that they want the person, definitely they will kill that person. It's like when they go to your house or the village, the people that they want and they are not there, there is a sign that they will make in the house for them to know that they will come back for them. So we are begging that the security should do well and assist us. If not, the fear and the panic is there. And there is some particular names that they've mentioned now. Even if the dialogue is, they are able to solve it and they go back, still they have the fear that they may one day kill them because their names are with them and they want them to kill them. So we are begging that they should do well so that the security should be tight in the community.
The delegation inspected the proposed new camp for the displaced Ghanaians, as the current site, a public school, is no longer viable, with schools set to reopen. Further assessment revealed alarming humanitarian concerns, theft and sexual abuse perpetrated against several women, the lack of food and clean water, have also compounded the plight of the refugees, prompting an urgent need for food supplies and immediate healthcare needs. Meanwhile, the deployment of the Special Operations Team has significantly boosted peace and public confidence in Bole, while the curfew remains in force. The team has pledged to continue working with the traditional leaders, security agencies and Ivorian counterparts to secure lasting peace and ensure the safe repatriation of displaced victims. Stanley Niblew, TV3 News.
Now, the leadership of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, GRNMA, has rendered an unqualified apology to Health Minister Kwabena Mintah Akando for their sharp comments following a recent incident at the Ridge Hospital. Other issues discussed are also aimed at strengthening the work relationship between the nurses and government.
The apology comes after a viral video showed relatives of a patient engaged in heated exchanges with medical staff at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital's emergency unit, highlighting the need for better security measures in healthcare facilities. The controversy began when General Secretary of the Nurses Group, Dr. Tinkran Chung, made comments suggesting that the Health Minister Akando's background as a farmer made him unfit to understand hospital operations.
Minister who said there are systems over there. If he doesn't understand, he should get somebody to educate him. They will give you first aid or whatever, but they will attend to other people who need more a year. It doesn't mean that they are delaying whatever. So that statement doesn't make sense to me at all. It doesn't make sense. Whoever wrote that statement doesn't even understand the hospital system.
This statement sparked widespread criticism, with many describing it as disrespectful and unprofessional. The Ghana National Association of Farmers and Fishermen strongly condemned Dr. Tinkran's remarks, giving him a 24-hour ultimatum to retract his statements and apologize, a statement that received a response from the sector minister.
I have been reminded of the fact that I'm a farmer. Yes, nobody needs to remind me. I'm a proud farmer, and everybody knows it. Not until my appointment, I was one of the largest rice farmers in this country, and I'm proud of that. Please, we have a lot to deliver, and some of these things will not divert our attention. We will continue to do our best for Mother Ghana.
In a statement, the ministry noted that the minister, after accepting the apology, pledged to see to the successful implementation of the collective bargaining agreement to improve the conditions of service for nurses and to also support the ongoing transformation of the health sector in line with achieving universal health coverage. The development is expected to help to ease seeming tensions between healthcare professionals and the government, promoting a more collaborative approach to improving the healthcare system.
In more news tonight, Priority View Homes, a real estate developer based in Accra, has launched an ambitious 420 million cedi housing project to provide modern homes for cocoa farmers across Ghana. The initiative, which kicked off with a sword-cutting ceremony, seeks to motivate farmers, improve their living conditions, and ultimately boost cocoa production in the country.
Cocoa farmers in Ghana are set to benefit from a massive housing initiative spearheaded by Priority View Homes, a real estate and construction company headquartered in Accra. The company has announced plans to invest over 420 million in a nationwide housing scheme aimed at replacing dilapidated thatched structures with modern, comfortable homes. The sword cutting of the pilot project marks the beginning of a long-term vision to ensure every cocoa farmer has access to decent housing. Chief Executive Officer for Priority View Homes, Eric Afedu, says the project is designed to inspire farmers, restore dignity, and encourage more people, especially the youth, to take up cocoa farming as a sustainable livelihood.
We've realized that cocoa farmers are more or less, to some extent, are not being up to how it used to be in terms of cocoa production. So you see cocoa production coming down. Ghana used to be the leading, but now they are not. And we went into it and realized that they need more than just giving them a fertilizer or giving them chemicals to work with. We also realized that something should inspire them. And we also realized that most cocoa farmers, about 50 to 56% of cocoa farmers are living in thatch houses. So we decided to come up with a decent housing scheme for cocoa farmers. It will really inspire a lot of people to go into cocoa plantation. And so that is basically the rationale. And I'm sure in the next 10 to 15 years, a whole lot of cocoa farmers will be able to enjoy that incentive. And that has the potential of increasing cocoa production in Ghana.
Chief of Gomuadahom, Nana Kwapra Ababiu VII, expressed his support to the upcoming project in the community.
Yede oku kese a wode dami dwumadi na ehwa Ghana ha nyina no aha no wahyase yede wanse yie de wadwen Gomuadahom ho na yeyisu ade ho a na ewe yenyido de yebe Gomuadahom Garden City of Adumako Traditional Council no ababem.
With the theme Sustaining Cocoa Growth, Building a Better Future, Priority View Homes is urging Ghanaians who may have abandoned cocoa farming or turned to illegal mining to reconsider, emphasizing the project offers a home and hope for a better future.
You're still watching News 360 on TV3. Stay with us. We have the latest in the world of business for you after this.
Reporting from the Takoradi Market Circle, from the heart of the Upper West Regional Capital,
from the heart of the Ashanti Kingdom,
reporting from Sunyani,
from the Central Business District of Navrongo.
The parliamentarians are on recess.
This is where it all unfolds, the moments that potentially alters the course of our nation and the world. These are the individuals we recognize, the voices we amplify, who appears on screen and who contributes behind the scenes. With professionalism at our core, we bring you news you can trust, impact journalism that makes a difference. This illustrates how diverse perspectives enhance our strength and reinforces our mission. This is 3 News, leaders in breaking news, exclusive interviews, facts and analysis on TV, radio, online and digital. 3 News, first in news.
Segment is brought to you by MTN. Touch concentrated perfume.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to the business segment on News360. I am Minu Aful. Ghana's annual inflation rate has declined for the 8th consecutive month, reaching its lowest level in almost 4 years. Government statistician Alhassan Idrisu announced on Wednesday that the annual inflation rate for August slowed to 11.5%, down from 12.1% in July. This has heightened calls for further cuts in the Bank of Ghana's key lending rate.
The inflation figures indicate that prices decreased by 1.3% in the month of August. While food prices remained a major driver of inflation, both food and non-food prices eased in August.
Prices today are 11.5% higher than they were in August 2024, and the lowest inflation we've observed since October 2021. And in December, inflation was 23.8%. That shows a sustained easing of price pressures.
Finance expert and chief executive of Daylex Finance, Joe Jackson, believes this sustained disinflationary trend strengthens the case for the Bank of Ghana to implement another policy rate cut, which would be aimed at stimulating economic activity.
I suspect strongly that the rate will come down. Maybe not as much as 500 basis points or 5%, but I'm expecting 300 basis points or 3%. And that by the end of the year, we would have hit the 20% that we are all expecting.
What happens to this inflationary trend amid the recent slide of the cedi and increase in fuel prices at the local pumps? Economist Professor Patrick Asimen, Professor Nansa.
There's something called pass-through. It takes some time before we see its full effect in the economy. I don't think we have gone through that full effect yet. But I think once the currency continues to depreciate, then maybe in 2 or 3 months' time, we begin to see it's reflecting in the inflation rate. The downward momentum may continue, maybe at a slower pace. But going forward, then we might begin to see a reversal.
The steady decrease in inflation is a positive sign for Ghana's economy, but government must tread cautiously as monthly fluctuations require continued monitoring.
Away from that, the National Banking College has reaffirmed its role as the country's leading specialized training institution dedicated to shaping the future of banking, finance and allied sectors. It celebrated 30 years of service earlier today during its 4th annual general meeting in Accra.
The event, themed 3 Decades of Resilience, Navigating the Future of Financial Services Education Together, brought together stakeholders to reflect on the college's journey and its evolving role in shaping the financial sector. Established in 1994, the college has trained thousands of professionals across banking, finance, and allied industries, offering cutting-edge programs tailored to industry needs. This year, the college reported a strong financial performance, with total comprehensive income rising to over 10.1 million cedis, up 1.3 million cedis from the previous year. Assets also grew by more than 10 million cedis, while liabilities saw a slight reduction.
Our operations are such that once operations increase, so will the associated cost increase. So if you had 1,000 people in 2023 and you had 3,000 people in 2024, clearly taking care of that increment in numbers would also increase your operating cost. So that is mainly the underlying factor for our operating costs, because then our numbers increased. We had many more people coming in. So the same way our revenue increased.
The college says it remains focused on delivering relevant modern training to meet the demands of Ghana's evolving financial landscape.
ESG across the world has become a very topical issue. IT, AI, fintechs, blockchain, that is where the world is right now. And so it is very important that we ensure that our banks are also operating in that domain, and it is the reason for which we rolled out those programs, and those programs will continue to run in accordance with global and local demands.
On the sidelines, The first Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana addressed concerns over the recent depreciation of the cedi.
There's no need to panic at all, and this is where we are. The measures we are implementing are adequate and they are working, and so we should be fine. Yeah, since we are not in a peg, you should once in a while see these movements. What it is you don't see, they are not sharp.
As the college enters its 4th decade, it says its focus will remain on building resilient talent for Ghana's financial future.
In more news tonight, the International Solar Alliance has announced a new $200 million Africa Solar Facility, an impact finance initiative designed to accelerate solar energy deployment across the continent. The first $75 million of the facility is expected to be operational before the end of the year.
The announcement was made during a media engagement following the 7th regional meeting of the International Solar Alliance (ISA) in Accra. It brought together 19 ministers and representatives from 39 countries who ratified the ISA strategy of moving from ambition to action. Director General of ISA, Ashish Khanna, noted the continent's vast solar potential, which currently receives less than 2% of global clean energy investments.
It will leverage investments of more than $800 million of decentralized renewable energy in private sector of Africa, starting with the first fund in Nigeria. We also discussed the importance of building capability within Africa. 12 centers of excellence called Solar Technology Application Resource Centers will be institutionalized before the end of 2025 in Africa.
Minister for Energy and Green Transition, John Abdullahi Jinapor, stated the government's commitment to reducing the cost of solar power to just 4 cents per kilowatt hour.
Solar power is really reducing, and Director said it's reduced by about 70%. And so we've even renegotiated some of our PPAs. PPAs that to pay about 18 cents per kilowatt hour, we've reduced them down to about 7. And we are going down further. Our target is to drill down to around 4 cents. So that is very, very positive. Our vision is to achieve 10% of renewables in our generation mix. We are excluding Akosomo, Bui, and Upon.
This ambitious target is part of Ghana's broader strategy to lead the transition to renewable energy and attract further investment in the sector.
Time now to take a look at what's happening on the forex and commodities markets, and that will end the business segment on News 360. I am Minu Afol.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the sports segment here on News 360 with me, Oreku Ampofo. The Black Stars held their final training session in Chad on Wednesday ahead of Thursday's 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifier. A total of 22 players are currently in camp following the absence of Alexander Djiku and Joseph Painto, who have both been ruled out of the game. Djiku is finalizing a contract in Moscow and will join the team later in the week, while Painto missed his connecting flight from New York due to delays and is expected to be available for the Mali clash in Accra on Monday, September 8. Ghana currently leads Group I with 15 points from 6 games, keeping the team well placed for a 5th FIFA World Cup appearance in the United States, Canada and Mexico. Now, ahead of the game against Chad, has come with his own bit of controversy as the Sports and Recreation Minister Kofi Adams announced the budget for the Black Stars in his press briefing, acting on the directive of President John Dramani Mahama as current government seeks to ensure transparency in their dealings. We have more details for you in the following report as the Ghana Football Association have responded duly.
The Ministry of Sports and Recreation in their press briefing on Monday revealed that it has made significant adjustments to the budgets for the Black Stars 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers against Chad and Mali, resulting in savings of over $732,000. According to the final approval from the presidency, the initial estimates submitted by the Ghana Football Association were carefully reviewed with several line items including $2,000 on facility user fee, $5,000 on fuel for bus, and $60,000 bonus for management scrapped.
Per the previous arrangement, management team members will be paid winning bonuses. But at the end of the day, the team didn't qualify to go for African Cup of Nations at all. So they are not even benefiting from anything that will come for participation because we didn't qualify to participate. But those you put in charge to manage would have received some money. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama thinks otherwise. That no, supervise, you will be given your per diem, but you will not be paid any winning bonus.
Sports Minister Kofi Adams also revealed that winning bonuses of the technical staff and players have been halved, with the remainder to be paid if the Black Stars book a place in the USA, Mexico, and Canada.
Coaches and the technical team members, including the physician, the physiotherapists, the physical trainers, the masseur, the kids officers, video analysts, all those persons are also paid winning bonuses, but they are all paid half of what has been agreed for the qualifiers.
Meanwhile, the Ghana Football Association has reacted to the briefing, stating they will provide clarification on issues raised on the budget after the team battles Mali on September 8th at the Accra Sports Stadium. The Black Stars concluded their final training session on Wednesday ahead of their away fixture against Chad, slated for Thursday, September 4th.
Well, that's how we wrap up the sports segment here on News 360. You can get all updates and reactions ahead of the Ghana versus Chad game on our social media handles at 3Sports. GH, my name is Oreku Ampofo.
Reporting from the Takoradi Market Circle. From the heart of the Upper West Regional Capital.
From the heart of the Ashanti Kingdom.
Reporting from Sunyani.
From the Central Business District of Navrongo.
The parliamentarians are on recess.
This is where it all unfolds. The moments that potentially alters the course of our nation and the world. These are the individuals we recognize, the voices we amplify, who appears on screen and who contributes behind the scenes. With professionalism at our core, we bring you news you can trust. Impact journalism that makes a difference. This illustrates how diverse perspectives enhance our strength and reinforces our mission. This is 3 News. Leaders in breaking news, exclusive interviews, facts and analysis on TV, radio, online and digital. 3 News, first in news.
Powered by 3 Entertainment.
Well, good evening and welcome to the entertainment news segment here on News 360. My name is Noella Donko. Now, a California court has cleared Grammy-winning rapper Cardi B of allegations that she assaulted a security guard in 2018. Now, the $24 million lawsuit was filed by Imani Ellis, who claimed the then-pregnant artiste scratched her face with a fingernail and spat on her during a visit to a Beverly Hills obstetrician. Now, after less than an hour of deliberation, a 12-member Los Angeles jury unanimously ruled in Cardi B's favor, finding that Ellis failed to provide convincing evidence of physical altercation.
On that girl. And with that being said, this time around, I'm going to be nice. The next person to try to do a frivolous lawsuit against me, I'm going to countersue. And I'm going to make you pay. Because this is not okay. I think people have like this misinterpretations of celebrities, like it's like, oh, well, we could ask for this and they're going to settle.
And now we bring you some tidbits around the world.
The Regal Film Festival and Awards has opened submissions for its 2025 edition, set to take place from December 10 to December 13, 2025 in Accra, Ghana. The festival invites African filmmakers to submit narrative features, documentaries, shorts, animations, experimental and indigenous films completed within the last 3 years. The final deadline is October 15, 2025, with submissions accepted via filmfreewa.com. Organizers highlight RIFA's mission to celebrate diversity, creativity, and innovation in African cinema and to provide a platform for both emerging and established filmmakers.
And that'll be it for the entertainment news segment here on News 360. My name is Noella Donko.
Thank you, Noella. Coming up, international news.
President Vladimir Putin has said Russia is willing to fight to achieve all its objectives if Ukraine does not agree to a deal. He made the remarks in China after attending a huge military parade seen as a challenge to Donald Trump and the US-dominated world order. The US president had tried to persuade Putin to end the war, but the Russian leader, while praising Trump's sincere desire, has so far not done so. UK Defense Secretary John Healey said Trump had brought Putin to the table but had not ruled out putting more pressure on him. Catholic Pope Leo XIV on Wednesday urged the international community to provide humanitarian aid for the suffering people in war-ravaged Sudan. Speaking at his weekly audience in St. Peter's Square, he also asked for prayers for those affected by Sunday's devastating landslide in the country's Darfur region. More than 1,000 people are believed to have died in the Mara Mountains mudslide, one of the deadliest natural disasters in Sudan's recent history. The tragedy comes amid a devastating civil war that has engulfed the country since April 2023.
And that's it for our package this evening. Thank you so much for watching. I am Martin Asiedu-Dartey.
And I am Portia Gabor. Do join Alfredo Cancer at 10 p.m. for Ghana Tonight. Good evening.